Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, forget Wall Street, forget Silicon Valley for just a second. Today, we're looking at a really unexpected place for a potential big move in digital currency. We're talking about the tiny Pacific island of Tinian. It's part of the Northern Mariana Islands.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite a story brewing there. The local legislature in Tinian, they've just overridden their governor's veto. They're pushing ahead with a stablecoin bill. It feels a bit like David and Goliath, maybe, but, in the digital finance world.
Okay, right. Let's unpack this a bit. Tinian. We're talking an island with, just over 2,000 residents, and it could actually become the first public entity in the entire U.S. to launch its own stablecoin.
That's the potential headline, yeah. They might even get there before places like Wyoming, which, as you know, has also been pretty active in the crypto space.
So our mission for this deep dive is really to get our heads around what this bill actually involves, why Tinian, of all places, and what are the potential ripple effects here. We're working off a recent news article detailing this pretty surprising development.
Okay, so first things first, let's make sure we're all on the same page about stablecoins. For you listening, think of it as a digital currency, but one that's designed to keep a steady value. Usually it's tied or pegged to something like the US dollar.
It's like trying to bring that traditional money stability into the digital world.
Exactly.
And this specific stablecoin Tinian's planning, it's got a name, the Marianas US Dollar, MUSD for short. Now, here's a key part. This isn't like purely code-driven or algorithmic. The idea is that the NUSD will be backed by actual tangible assets, cash, and US Treasury bills.
Right. And those reserves are planned to be held by the Tinian Municipal Treasury. So there's a layer of, let's say, conventional security there.
Feels fundamental, yeah.
It does. And the technology underpinning it. They've chosen the eCash blockchain. Now, for those of you who follow the crypto space closely, eCash has a history. It traces back through Bitcoin Cash and ultimately to Bitcoin itself. So it's not entirely new tech.
It has a lineage. And who's actually building the infrastructure for this?
That would be Marianas Rai Corporation. They seem to be the main commercial entity driving this. And they've actually set a date, May 19th, for a more detailed announcement about the MUSD.
Okay, so May 19th, something to watch if you're tracking this. Let's zoom out a bit now. The where and the who. Tinian, small Pacific island, U.S. territory, part of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. Economy,
right.
Mostly tourism.
Right. And politically, hasn't been smooth sailing. When the stablecoin bill first went to Governor Arnold Palacios, he actually vetoed it.
He did. What were his reasons?
He raised some pretty serious points. Concerns about legality, constitutionality. He also worried the rules might not just stay within Tinian, and interestingly, about insufficient safeguards against illegal online gambling. That seems to be a related concern.
Okay, so significant pushback from the governor.
But the legislature pushed back harder. Both the Northern Mariana Islands House and Senate voted to override that veto. And the margins were pretty wide, 14-2 in the House, 7-1 in the Senate.
Wow, okay. That shows some strong legislative support then.
Definitely. It really signals a determination within those bodies.
We also got some insight into the debate from individual lawmakers. Representative Marissa Flores, for instance. She sort of acknowledged the need for revenue, but also talked about feeling forced into this because the economy is struggling so much.
Yes, she used the phrase bitter pill to swallow, which is quite telling, isn't it? She also mentioned this recurring theme of turning to casinos for quick economic fixes. Seems like there's some unease about the path being taken.
A tough spot to be in, but there were strong supporters, too.
Oh, yes. Representative Patrick San Nicolas, who's actually from Tinian himself, was very much in favor. He framed it as a huge opportunity, a way to break free from relying just on tourism or federal money. He sees it as building a whole new digital industry.
So a path to self-sufficiency, potentially.
That's the vision he's putting forward. And it's worth remembering, initially, the entire Tinian delegation, all 4 members, had supported the bill unanimously.
Okay, so strong local backing at first. Let's dig into the why, then. What's the main driver here?
Economics, primarily. Marianas Rai Corp, the company involved, has apparently suggested this could bring in, potentially billions in investment and generate substantial tax revenue, crucially, without the government having to put up capital itself.
That sounds incredibly appealing, especially if the local economy is struggling.
It does. We saw a quote from Clyde Narita, director at Marianas Rai Corp. He talked about the local economy dying out, and he argued this bill could open up business without harming their culture, the environment, or messing with immigration. trying to address local fears, clearly.
But then you have Representative Flores' perspective, that counterpoint about, well, desperation driving the decision.
Exactly. It raises that question, for you listening. When should these smaller places jump into complex financial tech like this? Is it innovation or necessity or both?
And Representative San Nicolas sees it as unlocking potential, generating revenue from being a licensed digital jurisdiction. So you've got these different frames, proactive move versus reactive necessity, probably a mix, right?
Very likely. Now, thinking bigger picture, the significance. The article really hammers this point. Tinian could genuinely be the first U.S. public entity with its own stablecoin.
And the timeline they're shooting for.
Before July, apparently. The goal seems to be to launch before Wyoming potentially does something similar. It's become a bit of a race.
That's quite something for such a small territory. And the article also mentions something about stablecoin regulation being seen as a potential catalyst.
Yeah, a potential next catalyst for the whole crypto industry. So what happens on this tiny island could actually, echo much further.
It really makes you think about how financial regulation is evolving, doesn't it? If a small U.S. territory can move this fast, what does that say about innovation happening outside the usual centers? Or maybe regulatory agility?
It certainly poses those questions. And it's not without its controversies, as we've touched on.
Right. Let's just recap those points of contention. You have Governor Palacios' legal and constitutional red flags, plus the enforcement worries, especially around online gambling.
Mm-hmm. And then Representative Flores' real discomfort, feeling pressured by the economic situation. That highlights the risk, doesn't it? Making big financial bets under duress.
Definitely. And just to be crystal clear here, for you listening, we're just laying out the different views reported in the source. We're not taking sides or endorsing any particular political stance, just reporting on the dynamics at play.
Yeah, it's crucial to see both sides. There's this tension, isn't there? The promise of economic renewal through digital tech.
Right.
Versus the real concerns about legal frameworks, proper oversight, and maybe even making existing problems worse.
Okay, so let's try and tie this all together. This deep dive showed us Tinian, small Pacific island, moving forward with its own stablecoin, the MUSD. It's meant to be backed by cash and treasuries running on the eCash blockchain.
The main push seems economic hopes for huge investment, new revenue streams. But it faced a gubernatorial veto, and there are lingering concerns about the process, the speed, and the potential risks involved.
And the bigger picture is that a U.S. territory launching its own stablecoin could be, well, pretty significant, not just for Tinian, but maybe for how digital currencies are regulated across the U.S.
Absolutely. It sets a potential precedent.
Which brings us to our final thought for you. Think about this. What does it mean when smaller places, smaller jurisdictions, start jumping into the digital currency game like this? How might that reshape financial innovation, regulation? What questions does Tinian's move raise for you about the future mix of money, technology, and how we govern ourselves in this connected world?
Yeah, definitely some big questions to chew on there.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.